Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your guest host, Brian Marchese, and today we're talking about a fall festival that we have at one of Hampton's most beloved attractions, Bluebird Gap Farm. With me today, I have Nick Michel.
Hello. We're going to have kind of our annual fall festival. It's going to be the 21st and 22nd of October.
Okay.
We're going to have lots of local artists coming out to do arts and craft selling and things like that. Obviously, tons of animal programs like we're known for at Bluebird Gap Farm, but as well as some of the returning attractions like the hayride, some of the pumpkin chunkin'. That's always fun.
Yeah.
And it's going to open up a little bit too, so people are going to have access to pastures and stuff like that for these attractions that maybe they wouldn't before. So it's also a great time to look at Bluebird Gap Farm in general is going to be fall, and we're going to get a new perspective on it as more like thorough throughout the park and everything too. Okay,
that's great. It sounds like a great family event, and so it sounds like you have lots of different activities for everybody to do and things to do, and it's a 2-day festival this year, right?
Yeah, so Saturday and Sunday. I will say that we've had 2, sometimes 3 days in the past. Fortunately, this year, though, it doesn't look like we're going to get rained out on Sunday.
Right.
We usually have a beautiful Saturday, and it's great. It goes really well, tons of guests. And then on Sunday, it starts out great, and then sometimes it gets a little bit gray. But this year, it's looking nice and clear. Hopefully, perfect fall weather, just like nice sweaters and stuff like that, and nice sunshine. So that's what I'm looking forward to this year.
Absolutely. What's your kind of favorite activities that the kids can get involved with at the farm?
I think just the sheer spectacle of the pumpkin chunkin' is something that just blows kids' minds. To get to kind of pick out a pumpkin and have somebody put it on the trebuchet or catapult and just like launch it through the air, that's always a lot of fun. I actually did a little staffing on that. But if you want something more relaxed, especially for like the younger kids, or if you need to take a break if you're walking around a lot, then the hayride is just a classic everywhere. Everybody loves a nice autumnal hayride, so
right.
Probably a tie.
So tell us a little bit more about the park. So how big is the park, and how many animals do you guys have out there, and what kind of animals do you guys have?
So we are a multi-acre park. We have roughly 100 different animals in our collection at any given time. We've been in operation since 1969 at that location. Previously, it was kind of where the Coliseum is now, roughly from 65 to 68, if I'm correct. And it was called Old MacDonald Farm in the past. But yeah, we've been in operation for over 50 years, and we will get people who have been coming when they were little kids in the 1970s with their kids and with their grandkids and telling us like, yeah, there's so many changes that have kind of come and gone over the years, and I think that just the history of the area along with the history of Bluebird Gap Farm is one of its nicest attractions because of all the old photos and all the changes you get to see. We do mainly specialize in what you might call kind of farm animals and things like that. We want to show people who might not necessarily get access to more rural areas within the city themselves what those kind of farms operate like. We don't do anything like milking or riding. We consider animals retired, but we still get to talk about that, like the differences in breeds, like why dairy cows have long legs, why meat cows tend to be short and things like that. Like I said, they're all retired, but it's still fun to talk about those differences. And sometimes we have more exotic guests, or exotic animal guests, I should say, such as reptiles and birds of prey and lizards and stuff like that. Some people get really excited when they see the different sheep breeds that we have from different parts of the world. And so things can get we can always go on and on about the different animals we have. And I think giving kids that kind of free access to animal education is probably one of our greatest strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear they have one of your animals with us today.
Yeah, we do. She is actually one of my favorites. So we're going to go ahead and get our friend out here right now.
Whoa.
Here she is.
She is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm not a snake person, so.
So she always brightens up the room. She is one of my absolute favorites. So this is Uno. She's a ball python. Yep. Just nice and gentle. And like what you're doing, you want to kind of go with the scales.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily flip up the scales if you go against them, but I imagine it's more comfortable for her if you go with it. It's like if somebody messed up your hair or something,
Right.
Probably wouldn't like it. But like I said, she's a ball python.
And how old is she?
Oh, so she's roughly 12. Unfortunately, her previous owner is what you might call kind of like a pet owner.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that. These are super popular pets. But just like with our dogs and cats, we don't necessarily keep their exact, like, we don't have a birth certificate for them.
Right.
Typically. Some people do. And so we can kind of estimate based on the size she was when she was donated to us and how long we've had her. She's probably in the ballpark of 12 years old.
Okay.
And in captivity, they can live into their 20s pretty easily. I've heard reports of them into their 30s, even like into their 40s as well. And that's one of the great things about reptile care is that we kind of continue to develop an understanding of it, and that gives them a better quality of life and better lifespans, and they continue to be some of our best friends for years to come.
She is absolutely beautiful, and her coloring is wonderful. I've seen pythons in different colors and different things like that. So what color is she?
So we call this a wild morph.
Okay.
Sometimes people jokingly call it the ET morph because if you look at the sections, it kind of looks like ET's head from the film Extraterrestrial. But they do come in different morphs, which is kind of what the reptile community calls different colorations. And I will say that there are some very beautiful morphs out there, but if you are looking to adopt your own ball python, just make sure they're coming from a rescue or a Rapidill breeder that you know is taking good care of them.
Yeah.
Sometimes people can get kind of lost in that journey to find a super beautiful, crazy rainbow color ball python or something like that, and they get kind of lost in that and they forget about the health of the animal. Obviously, tons of reptile breeders are very reputable and they love their animals and they take great care of them. But just make sure that that's the one you're getting yours from if you are interested in something like that.
Well, she's absolutely beautiful. And will she be out there at the festival for kids to play with?
So we do plan on doing different pop-ups. Now, it is a little weather dependent with her. She is cold-blooded.
Okay.
So if it's, and it probably will be well above 60 degrees. So assuming it's nice, kind of sunny out, not too cold, then we can expect to see her or some of her other reptile friends out for kids to check out, ask questions with, and just to like enjoy and pet and things like that.
And that's another question I had about the festival. So how many animals do you guys have out there for kids to be able to pet or to interact with or to see up close?
So typically we like to do different rotating pop-ups.
Okay.
We also kind of like to do that in areas there's a little bit less foot traffic, just so it doesn't stress out the animals and that people get time to ask questions. So at any given time, there's usually going to be about 1 or 2 different pop-ups going on. And throughout the day, it's going to be kind of circling in and out, like I said. And so it's kind of hard to say, but just kind of always keep an eye out for an animal guest, and you're likely to find one if you keep looking for it.
Yeah. And what other activities actually are there out there for adults? I hear that there's some gardening aspects and plant stuff out there as well, maybe? Or the Master Gardeners?
Certainly. So at Bluebird Gap Farm, we partner with the Master Gardeners, and they have their wonderful arboretum. When you enter the park, just go to your left, and that little section on the kind of northern side of the park, they talk all about different gardening techniques, different kinds of things that you can do to interact with your environment, even if you aren't necessarily gardening yourself.
Right.
They have rotating plant sales throughout the year, usually once a season. We just had ours on September 30th, so keep an eye out for another one eventually. And we also have different people bringing food and things like that. And in the past, we've even had like craft beer makers show up. And so if you'd like to check out stuff like that, there's plenty of things for family, but there's tons of people just for like younger adults or really anyone of any age who just wants to show up and enjoy the park and the nice kind of autumn vibes and everything like that.
It's a great place to be in the autumn.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. I love all seasons of it, but I gotta say you get the best of both worlds with the comfortable weather during the autumn and just the beautiful look of the park and everything. So working there during the autumn is it's such a treat.
Yeah. So remind everybody again when the festival is happening this year and what time the gates open.
So you can arrive at Bluebird Gap Farm on the 21st or 22nd to enjoy the fall festival. Typically, gates going to open at around 10 a.m., so just an hour later than we typically open, which is usually 9. So from 10 to 5 is going to be the operating hours for the fall festival.
And the cost?
So it's free.
Absolutely free.
Free every day, 7 days a week, almost 365 days a year. We got to close for Christmas and Thanksgiving, but so yeah, always free.
And thanks for coming on the show today. We really appreciate you coming out here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I always love talking about Uno and all the parts of Bluebird Gap Farm that make us special.
Absolutely. And thank you for watching today. We hope that you guys will come out to Bluebird Gap Farm's Fall Festival and enjoy the great autumn air and all the different animals out on display. Thanks.